All right, are we ready? Ready as we'll ever be. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second in a series of political debates sponsored by the News Journal and Daytona State College. I'm Pat Rice, editor of the News Journal, and I'll be your moderator tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and join us. It's a really good audience. It's a nice theater. I feel like I should have brought my guitar and played a couple songs before we start, but that would sort of ruin the ambiance. So, we have an exciting debate planned tonight between candidates for the important position of Daytona Beach mayor. In a moment, I'll introduce the candidates and the debate will begin, but first, just a couple of announcements. First, I want to thank Daytona State College for their help in co-sponsoring this event and helping with everything from planning to arranging the chairs to testing the sound, getting the light right, all of those things. Special thanks to those who work here at the News Journal Center and to Robert Grimm, who's sort of helped us to plan all of these debates. So let's give them all a hand. Just a couple of ground rules for the audience. First, if you haven't already done so and you have one of these, a cell phone, please turn it off. In a minute, I'll introduce the candidates, and during each of their introductions, I encourage you to applaud each of them. At the end of the debate, each candidate will have a couple minutes for closing remarks, and I hope that you'll applaud them as well at that point also. But in between the introduction and the closing remarks, please stay quiet. It's up to the candidates to convince you that they're worthy of your support. And they really don't need audience participation to do that. So if you could, just be good listeners as the debate goes on. Finally, if you need to get up during the debate for some reason, by all means do so, but please do so as quietly as possible. Okay, let's get started with the introductions. The mayoral candidates in the order in which they are seated. First, Gwen Azama Edwards. Gwen is a retired Daytona Beach city clerk and assistant to the city manager. She's also a former city commissioner. She is currently president of AE Enterprises, Inc. Welcome, Gwen. Next is Fred Hoffman. Fred is a businessman and property owner from Daytona Beach. He's lived in the city since 1972. Fred, welcome.
Thank
you. Next is Derek Henry. Derek has lived in Daytona Beach his entire life. Is that correct? Okay, I was guessing a little. I thought so. He was a city commissioner from 2008 to 2010 and is a former Mainland High School assistant principal. He is currently the executive director of an educational consulting firm. Welcome, Derek. And finally, Edith Shelley. Edith has been a city commissioner since 2010. She was on the city's planning board for 18 years and has also served on the Downtown Blue Road redevelopment board. Welcome, Edith. Candidates, before we begin, one final point, which we made earlier when we were speaking. Our time, he or she will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. Then each other candidate will have 1 minute to answer the same question. Then the candidate who initially received the question will have 1 minute for final comments. And we'll repeat that process twice for every candidate so that everybody has equal time. It will all, once we get going, it'll all make sense. We drew a name from a hat, no, actually from a trade, to determine who gets the first question, and the winner is Gwen. So Gwen, here's the first question. The News Journal recently published a 4-part series of stories chronicling blight on the beachside area, in the area that includes the so-called E-zone. What do you think needs to be done to to revitalize the beach side, and in particular the E-zone area?
Well, when we talk about the E-zone area, I believe we need to expand it somewhat and really look at the neighborhoods, because the article was written in regards to the neighboring areas. And what we need to do is have strong code enforcement, get the police department involved, get the various departments and staff that actually frequent that area, and get as many neighborhood people as possible to be the eyes and ears for that area so that we can clean it up. We also need to do some things like what they're doing in South Daytona with some development in that area that would bring in palm trees and other types of paving and the like to really dress it up. We've got to also deal with the housing, the infrastructure, that the housing that is in disrepair. We've got to get in there and make sure that that is removed as well. We've got to get serious about cleaning up our cities, cleaning up our neighborhoods, and helping those who are really working to keep their homes in good repair, to keep their landscaping as it should be, and those who really and truly love this city and want to keep it as beautiful as possible. We have to partner with our neighborhoods and those who live in our neighborhoods to make sure that that happens. So, what should we do? Clean it up, green it up, and then make sure that we get people convinced of the fact that this is a great place to live.
Thank you. If we could, because I do want to keep it going, save the applause till the end. Fred, same question to you.
Well, the E-zone, by the way, is the entertainment zone for the city of Daytona Beach on the beach side. Blight is not going to go away unless we make it go away. It's not going to disappear. We're not going to talk about it. You're not going to run it through the city commission meeting and it's going to disappear. It's not going to happen. The police department's not going to make it go away. You keep arresting people, you get them to jail, you come back out, you're going to be back out there. More people are going to come to town. At one time, Jacksonville was sending all the transients to Daytona Beach. I don't know if they're still doing that or not. But the only way to get rid of the blight is to bring in business and jobs. Now, you can't create jobs until you have business. And to be attractive, to attract attractive businesses, the city has to be attractive. Same with individuals. You have to be attractive to someone to attract an attractive person. Okay, well, you come in off the interstate. I have $20 million. Okay, I'm coming in off the interstate. Maybe I want to make an investment somewhere. It doesn't even have to be Florida.
I'm sorry, your time is up. Derek, same question to you.
First of all, that area is a very lightly populated area. So if we, as a city, would allocate resources to the homeowners and property owners who are really sincere about cleaning up their property, it is a redevelopment area. Why not offer some of the redevelopment funds to the property owners who are sincere about cleaning up their property? The second thing is code enforcement has to be fair and consistent. The community, meaning the city commission, the mayor, we also have to support the neighborhood watch groups and neighborhood groups that are located there and help them so that we can drive down the crime by doing community police, because a community can only police itself when you, as a community, get out and work together to solve the problem of crime.
Thank you. Edith, same question to you.
Yes, the E-zone plan has come forward with the process for this. It has been moved forward to have the comp plan amendments done, and now an overlay district has been created. In reading the E-zone plan, it talks about the importance of creating that sense of place that says to the visitor, I could live here. So the E-zone plan does stress the importance of residential neighborhoods in our core community. It also stresses high appearance standards and architectural standards. This is what encourages investment to come into a community, because if we have clear, consistent standards, the next developer knows that we will hold everyone to those same standards, and it encourages investment in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gwen, you have 1 minute to respond to the other's answers.
As I said, we need to clean it up, we need to green it up, And then we need to make sure that we not only love this area, but make and encourage others to love it as well. You know, business does not want to and will not come to an area that is not attractive, but they also will not come to an area where they do not feel safe. Business owners will not bring their families, they will not bring their wives or their children to an area where they will not feel safe. So we've got to have code enforcement, we've got to have police departments, the police department working together and working in conjunction with other agencies to help clean up the drugs, clean up the prostitution, and clean up anything and everything that offends and that our residents find offensive to them, as well as the businesses. We've got to work together to make sure that our residents and our businesses that live here love the place and understand how much we love and appreciate having them here. And by doing that, we will make sure that everyone loves Daytona Beach and takes care of it. Clean it, green it, and then sell it to everybody.
Thank you. Now we go to our next question, and it's to you, Fred. And it's similar to the last question, because it's a revitalization question. The riverfront plan, developed 2 years ago, is packed with ideas to revitalize Beach Street and the surrounding area. But not a lot has happened yet. Nor has the city had great success in development of the core area between Nova Road and Ridgewood Avenue. What do you think needs to be done to revitalize these two areas?
Well, Beach Street, they put a lot of investment into Beach Street as far as the landscaping and palm trees, and most people don't know it, but Donald Trump owns property on Beach Street. I knew one of the tenants who was renting from him. And the problem on Beach Street is parking mainly, and people now go out to the malls. You know, when they built the Volusia Mall, I thought, wow, who's going to go way out there? But it's in close now, so people. That's what it's all about, going to the malls. People don't want to go downtown anymore. New Smyrna has developed a nice downtown area. You have the art building there where people can go, and so possibly something like that could be done in Daytona, not necessarily an art building, but somewhere where something to stimulate business activity in a localized area, like they're doing down there with the artists and the paintings, and they've done a real good job down there. And other than that, as far as you were talking about between Mason and...
between Nova and Ridgewood?
Between Nova and Ridgewood. Well, International Speedway is a disaster. We need to put up some palm trees, give Daytona Beach a tropical look. When you come in on past the Speedway, you know, and cross the bridge, you say to yourself, am I going to get mugged? You know, so need to improve Daytona, new parents.
Okay, thank you. Derek, same question to you.
The problem in Daytona Beach is scarcity of people. As long as you continue to have a scarcity of people, during the last census count we lost 3,000 people. We continue to lose people. We cannot sustain these areas with the residents of Daytona Beach. The beachside needs to increase, not beachside, but downtown we need to increase the density. If we can increase the density, perhaps we could attract a place like a Publix, maybe a Dave & Buster's, something that would also help us to utilize the almost 10,000 college-age students in Daytona Beach. When you have that number of college-age kids, and no one can tell me what it is that they do with their free time, well, the downtown area is an ideal place for them to come out and have a good time within reason, if we could develop it properly and make it more inviting. Currently, most of the businesses there close at 6 o'clock. You're not going to become an economically vibrant place when there's nothing to do after 6 o'clock. So, again, we have to increase our density of people in that area.
Thank you. And Edith, same question to you.
Yes, the downtown plan, the master plan there for Riverfront Park, as we all know, we have been in some of the worst economic times since the Great Depression. Our redevelopment funds have all been drained due to loss of funding in the markets. So what is happening in downtown is very exciting. We have private investment taking place. We have First Fridays, a group of business people in the downtown. We have initiated public art projects in this area using all private funds. I'm in favor of working with the private businesses to implement the small goals of those plans and then work forward for the broader goals as we achieve bringing more funding to those areas. The Midtown Master Plan is a fabulous plan. They have worked on that very hard, that board. It is an amazing plan. It has new urbanist things in it. It has form-based codes in it that are very exciting and encourage investment in a community. And we are working as hard as possible to work with that board to bring that forward and make the changes, do the comp plan amendments, the land development code amendments that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gwen, same question to you.
Clean it, green it, and then sell it. You know, I walk downtown. There are some great businesses there, but how about pressure cleaning the walkway? You know, how about pulling some weeds? How about actually putting out some signage so that people know the stores that they're getting ready to come to, so that they know the store they want to go into? How about you know, some kind of a fountain put out there in that area that can be something that would be a draw for families and children playing there, and you know, benches there, so you've got some traffic, foot traffic coming downtown. How about strolling musicians that actually help to add to and lift the spirits of people who are down there in the downtown area? How about those types of activities, just thinking outside of the box? Some of these things are contained in the Riverfront Park plan. But there are other things that can be thought about as well, because things have changed since they put it in place a couple of years ago. Things will change by the time they're looking at a 15-year plan. So things can improve if we work together.
Thank you. And Fred, you have 1 minute to round up on that question.
Well, like I said, I think we need to bring in, you know, it's nice to say you want to bring in investors and bring more people downtown, but like I said, you have to make the area more attractive to attract people. It is a downtown area. It's not like the mall. You park and you walk in and you do shopping and you come back. I mean, it's a place where you spend some time. You go to a restaurant, maybe go to the antique shop. It's a gathering place. I think if we, the best idea I would have is to develop it as a gathering place where people meet. With a business meeting, a luncheon, you get together with a friend, and that's probably the best, just off the top of my head, the best use of the downtown area to make it a more friendly, not just a strictly shopping area.
Okay, thank you. The next question goes to Derek. And Derek, the question is this, and it comes from a citizen, Don Kane. Some people here must know Don. The perception of some citizens of Daytona Beach is that the mayor and commission serve the city manager, and the city manager is controlled by the power brokers in the community. Do you agree or disagree with that perception, and why?
I don't disagree with it, but what I would say is that the commission's responsibility is to lead and guide the manager. And the manager has given a perception to residents that he comes across as being very defensive and not as positive as they would like. And it is important for folks to understand that in a city like Daytona Beach, where we are so divided, it is a difficult position to be the manager, because after 8 years, you're going to upset people routinely. And if you were the manager in a city for 8 years like Daytona Beach, you really have probably outlived your state, because it's a difficult place to serve as the manager. So I would have to say that it's not relevant, because the most important thing is it's the commission's job to lead the manager. And I can't hold the manager accountable for not doing what the commission should be doing. When I was a city commissioner, I evaluated the manager in what I thought was a fair and consistent way. And most importantly, I expected him, and I did not give him my vote prior to going to the dais. I demanded the information, and I felt like he worked well with me. Now, I can't say that it appeared to be the same with the rest of the commission.
Thank you. Edith, same question to you.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Yes. The perception of some citizens of Daytona Beach is that the mayor and commission serve the city manager, and the city manager is controlled by power brokers in the community. Do you agree or disagree with that perception, and why?
I believe that perception exists. The city manager is controlled by 7 people. He does not do what each individual person asks him to do. It is a ruling by consensus when there is the consensus. And my concern, and it has been my concern, I have publicly given the city manager his lowest evaluation. What this is about to me is accountability and responsibility. We have set procedures in place in the city of Daytona Beach that say to our manager, you only need to please 4 people. We do not have policies and procedures in place that address the evaluations. For example, giving the city manager a 3. That only says you're doing average. The manager needs to come back. We need to have policies in place that say how I will raise that 3 to a 4. I gave him a 1 in certain things. He should meet with me and say, let's meet together. How do I bring that 1 up to a 2 or a 3? Let's put procedures in place that make accountability to each city commissioner instead of setting something in place for failure that says I only have to deal with 4 of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gwen, same question to you.
The perception that you have stated is a perception that the citizens have seen in action. That's why they say it's not to them a perception, but it's in reality. The truth is that I can recall at least 2 occasions where the current mayor referred to the form of government that we have in this city as the manager form of government. So what does that mean? That means that the manager not only sets the tone, the manager not only helps them in developing policy, which is the job of the city commission, but the manager is the controlling force in City Hall. And that needs to change. And he needs to be advised and reminded of the fact that this charter for the city of Daytona Beach reads as its form of government, council manager form of government. That means that the council sets the policy, and our council is called the commission, and the manager job is to follow the policies that the city commission sets.
Thank you. Fred, same question to you.
One more time, please.
Yes. The perception of some citizens of Daytona Beach is that the mayor and commission serve the city manager, and the city manager is controlled by the power brokers in the community. Do you agree or disagree with that perception, and why?
Well, I would totally disagree with that perception because that's not the way it is. That's not the way it works. The mayor works with the city commissioners, and the mayor directs the city manager to do certain things. The mayor must be a leader and guide the commissioners. And then you have and you come up with a plan, you put commissioners and the mayor come up with a plan, and then you go to the city manager and say, well, this is the plan. If the city manager is not giving a plan, city manager has no direction. Then what do you expect him to do? I spoke with the city manager, and I would not have a problem working with him. Most people say he's got to go. He has the experience. He's there now. He's in place. He's got all the contacts. He knows what's going on. And we had a nice talk, and I think if we're on the same page, I don't have a problem with him staying. Some people say he makes too much money. Well, you know, that's another issue. But thank you.
Thank you. And Derek, you have 1 minute.
I would say that I think the manager is not elected. The commission is elected, and the mayor is elected. With that said, it's power brokers that make donations to our campaigns. So if there's a person, if someone is controlled, I would be more inclined to say that it is the people who are elected as opposed to the manager. Because the elected officials have the responsibility and the power to manage the manager. And as mayor, I feel extremely confident that were Jim Chisholm to stay or go, I will be able to work and manage him effectively.
Thank you. The next question goes to Edith. And Edith, this is the question. It's a little bit long-winded. The struggling economy has reduced the collective amount the city collects for property taxes, franchise fees, and other revenues for a few years now. A lot of grant programs have been reduced or dried up. State and federal money is harder to get. The city still has bills to pay and services to provide, though. What's the best way to deal with all that? Is raising an array of city fees the best way to go? Or what city expenses might be cut to make up for an estimated $1.7 million less in revenue this year than last?
I think the only way to go about addressing this issue, and I have pushed for this as a city commissioner, is that we go through a thorough program analysis in our city. That we look at the empirical data, we look at the resources and the programs that we have in place. Is it a mandated program? Is it mandated by the state, by the federal government? If it's mandated, what is that funding source? Let's look at all of our programs using that sort of data. And then, and only then, are we able to truly make clear, conscientious decisions about where we need to make cuts in our budget. Our community is struggling. The people here are struggling. Our properties are going down. Raising that millage rate will be hard on everyone in this community, including our businesses that we desire to stay here. The surrounding communities have lower millage rates than we do. It is something that we are struggling with, but only when we look at the programs that we have at the City Commission level in that budget and allow the community and everyone to be involved as what our priorities will be. Can we have a true priority-based budget to use our limited resources in the best manner possible for our citizens?
Thank you. Gwen, same question to you.
Could you repeat? Well, you don't need to.
Okay.
We actually had that question already given to us by your News Journal reporter. No, the answer is not in raising your fines, your fees, your especially 17.5% increase in your property taxes, okay? When people are already struggling, when people are already dealing with issues that make them make decisions about whether they're going to get medicine or they're going to get food or whatever else, our city has become one of the poorest cities in the county, and that's happened in just the last few years. And it's not just due to the economy. We've got to do more to bring in higher paying jobs, but we've got to also do more to go after money. We need grant writers who will research and do what's necessary to bring in dollars. We need staff who will be able to and allowed to come up with ideas that are cost-saving ideas. I'm told that, you know, they used to do that. They don't really have that opportunity anymore. So we've got to allow our citizens to help in terms of setting priorities, because the dollars follow the priorities. And the priorities sometimes are not as they should be. So working together, we can solve these problems, but increasing fees, increasing taxes is not the answer.
Thank you. And Fred, same question to you.
Could you repeat that, please?
Okay. I'm going to do it as quickly as I can because it is a long one. The struggling economy has reduced the collective amount the city collects for property taxes, franchise fees, and other revenues. A lot of grant programs have been reduced. State and federal money is harder to get, but the city still has bills to pay and services to provide. What's the best way to deal with all of that?
Okay, well, I've been in business since I was a paper boy. The city needs to be run like a business as if it had to make a profit. It's not fair to penalize the taxpayers for a poorly-run government. You can't just say, give me more money. Benjamin Franklin said, a penny saved is a penny earned. Here's an example. They just reduced LPGA lease beginning September from $500,000 annually to $250,000. You just gave away $250,000 of taxpayers' money. Take the pier. You paid $6 million to refurbish the pier, $2 million for a parking lot two blocks away, and $1.3 million to the ex-tenant. They said, we'll give it to you for your equipment that wasn't worth anything because they wouldn't make repairs. And my business as a landlord, I don't pay tenants to go away. I evict them, and I don't give them money. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek, same question to you.
Efficiency is critical, and we have to find ways to operate more efficiently. you would demand that of a private enterprise if it's going to succeed. So we as citizens and as elected officials have to demand it of ourselves. We have 800 city staff in a city of 57,000 people. The manager proudly boasts that we're at the lowest employee rate in the last 30 years. Well, only government believes that it's okay to get bigger and bigger with time. Well, we've got less people with basically a lot more people working. So we have to find a way to be much more efficient in terms of who we hire, what they're doing. I was recently told by a resident that it took 7 people to replace his water meter. 7 people to replace his water meter. So, and I'm not here to bash city staff for certain, but what I am here to say is I do believe that we can be far more efficient than we are.
Thank you. And Edith, you have a final minute on that question.
Thank you. And we do that by analyzing each of our programs in the city. It's that way you determine the staff that is needed. That way the community can look and help us make these very hard choices that we need to make. We have been told that our services in this city will be declining. We as citizens need to know that, and we need to know how to evaluate them. The only way to do that is by going through your programs and analyzing them, understanding the resources available, the funding, how it works, and then we as a community make those hard choices about efficiencies. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question goes to Gwen. Gwen, I'm fortunate, I'm going down my line, and this one you can't use that clean it green it. So, here we go.
I'll find the one.
All right. It is your challenge. Red light cameras have been in Daytona Beach for more than a year now, and they have not produced the revenue stream for the city that some had predicted. Some say the value has been in changing driving habits for the better and reducing accidents. Others say they're just a nuisance. Do you think the city should keep the ones in place now, add even more of them, or get rid of all of them as soon as possible? And why?
The judge is still out in terms of how much they actually reduce accidents. And in truth, they were brought into the city, and they're brought into a lot of places to make money. In truth, too, for our city, that was not the case. In fact, what they're doing for the most part now is kind of balancing out in terms of the cost and what's being paid out. Some of that, they say, is because of the judge and his decisions, but a person slowly turning, right should not necessarily get a ticket. So should they be reduced? Yes, they should be reduced. And they should look at the fact that there appear to be more in the poor areas of the city than in the more affluent areas. So they need to be reduced, but I believe that if there were places where there were high accident rates, then that's where the red light cameras should be, and not, throughout the city as they are. So reduce them and then look at more efficient ways of using them.
Thank you. Fred, same question to you.
I am not in favor of red light traffic cameras. However, it has improved my driving. I do make a full stop at every traffic light now. One other point is the city said this wasn't to raise money, it was for traffic safety purposes only. And until a court rules that they're illegal, some states have taken them out, some cities have taken them out, but until that's ruled, I think we're going to be stuck with them, even though the revenue's kind of flat, but they might be making a little revenue. I think that money, so the city can say it's for traffic safety purposes only, should go to a not-for-profit organization, any profit made above the expenses, for instance, Coalition for the Homeless, something like that, and that way you're helping someone and you can say it's for traffic safety purposes only. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek, same question to you.
Like too many of our other decisions that we make, it was a knee-jerk reaction to a shrinking budget. I was on the commission at the time. I personally voted against red light cameras because I did my homework. I called other commissioners in other cities. I called residents. Residents were 50-50 on it. But other areas that had erected these cameras told me that you're never going to make the money that they tell you you're going to make, and they do not decrease or increase traffic safety. And we know that we were trying to fill a $2 million budget deficit, so we passed on basically what I consider to be a tax to the residents, when in most cases, most residents try to drive according to the rules. Most. Now, you're going to catch one or two criminals who are intent on breaking the law, but for the most part, I continue to oppose red light cameras.
Thank you. Edith?
Yes.
Same question.
We have a contract with the manufacturer of these red light cameras. The city entered into a contract several years ago regarding the red light cameras. So we are under contract with the company. The police are telling us that indeed our traffic accidents at those intersections are down. That is what we're hearing. What I would recommend, the fact that we are under contract with this company, our contract, when it comes up for renewal, we need to renegotiate a much more favorable position for the city. The city negotiated under an assumption, as Commissioner Henry said, and we know that is no longer true, and so it puts us in a position of strength in our negotiations. So as we negotiate with them, we need to negotiate a much more favorable position.
Thank you. And Gwen, you have a final minute on that question.
I would agree, as I've heard from some residents, that the dollars that are made from the red light cameras, if they ever start producing any dollars in the few locations where they should remain once I become mayor, it should go back to the area where the accidents occurred and where the people are racing through to see what can be done to really help with that situation. The legislature will revisit that issue next year, and they will decide that either they want to get more money from them, because that's another reason why the city is not making as much money as they thought, because anything the cities come up with to make money, the legislature decides that they want a piece of the action. So as a result, we get less from that. But once they make their decision on next year and revisiting it, we will have, I think, a major decision to make. And I believe that decision will end up being that we will not expand it, and it will be that we will reduce it so that we're not losing money, and that becomes another issue where we're draining from the city's finances.
Thank you. The next question goes to you, Fred, and the question is this. Daytona Beach and Volusia County have had little success in recent years recruiting new businesses or industry. What can the city and the county do to improve economic development efforts? And in addition to that question, do you support the Team Volusia concept?
Okay, well, first of all, like I said, to attract attractive businesses, the city has to be attractive. If I have $20 million coming into town, finished my previous answer, and I'm looking to make an investment somewhere in the United States, don't have to come to Florida necessarily, and I drive down International Speedway and over the bridge and to the A1A, and if the city hasn't made an investment to improve itself, to beautify itself, why should I invest in this area? Why should I bring my money here? I can go to Orlando, Kissimmee, Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa. I mean, I'd go a lot of places to spend money and to invest money, and so the city has to do something to attract people, and because you don't create jobs, you have to have businesses to create jobs. You need to beautify International Speedway Boulevard, put some palm trees. Let's make Daytona look tropical. And then also we have to get hold of our beach, have a better understanding with the county, and so we can say this is the world's most famous beach. Right now it's, you know, the days of the special events, we don't have those anymore. I sell hotels, motels throughout Florida, and I know how they bring business in. I know what...
Thank you. Derek, same question.
In order to attract new business, we have to first show ourselves friendly. Historically, we've had high impact fees for new businesses, and folks who have talked about investing in Daytona Beach have very often been discouraged and run off. You look at, we had an opportunity to get Bass Pro Shop We had a major battle over Walmart. Bruce Rossmeyer left downtown. The list goes on and on. So to that end, we have to show ourselves to be friendly to business, and we can't have a hostile attitude as the commission has seemingly had over the last few years. Team Volusia has not worked, but you have to work with other government municipalities. And to that end, I simply say, just look at the homeless problem that we have. If Volusia were really a team, everyone would join in and help us in solving that problem. But currently, we're the only ones basically carrying the weight of that problem.
Thank you. Edith, same question.
Yes, thank you. One of the things we have not done is tell our story well in this community. We have had local business expansion going on in these horrible economic times. Daytona Beverages, Teledyne, ARC Technologies, Crane Production Products, Daytona Custom Packaging, Lucky's Family Entertainment, Joe's Crab Shack. All of these things are opening in our city and expanding, bringing jobs in the Teledyne case with an average salary of $60,000. We have not told that story well. We have not shouted out what's happening in our community. Embry-Riddle, UCF, the Business Incubator, the Next Gen. It's exciting here. We're open for business, and we're thanking investors for being in our community. We're making it accessible, predictable, and certain.
Thank you. Gwen.
Unfortunately, we do have a situation where we are not seen as being business friendly. Unfortunately, too, we have more businesses that are leaving the area than are coming to the area. And a lot of the businesses, thank God, that are expanding are the businesses that have been here for several years. Some of those started when I was on the city commission. And they are expanding because we are providing them with incentives, and they're also getting other types of, I won't call them handouts, but they're getting other types of support that allow them to be able to expand. So I would agree that we do need to become more business friendly and provide the consistency and reliability that the businesses want. Look at the regulations and also do more in terms of the taxes. They say the taxes are too high, but we've got to also clean it and green it and promote it. Thank you.
Fred?
Okay, it's been said to me that it's the county's job to bring people into the area. Yes, it is. To Port Orange, to Orange City, to DeLand, to New Smyrna, not necessarily Daytona. Okay, Daytona needs a marketing department. I have a marketing department in my, for my real estate. You have to market the city. You have to market the benefits. You market benefits. You can't make money on tourists. I'm in the motel business. You need convention business. That's where the money is made. That's where the bucks are made. Daytona doesn't have enough convention space or enough quality hotel rooms to compete with Orlando Kissimmee. And you're not going to duke it out with them. You're not going to go toe-to-toe with them. But you can make some improvement. And if you don't start making improvements, Daytona Beach is going to be like the last 100 years, no improvement. We need to get rid of the good old boy club downtown, and we need to get all new faces in there and make some improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek, the next question goes to you, and it's something that you brought up earlier regarding the city's population and it being lower now than it was. Should Daytona Beach city officials, including police officers, firefighters, other city employees, be truly required to live within the city's limits? Why or why not?
Yes, and that is one of my key platform issues. I believe as mayor of the city of Daytona Beach, you have to take an active role that says that Daytona Beach is a place that is worthy of living in. And to that end, we should make it a requirement that in every possible case in the future, not retroactive, be required to live in the city of Daytona Beach. And with the only exception, if there were ever to be an exception, it would have to be from the commission dais. In other words, you take that control out of the manager's hand. It's a shame that we would feel that we have to compel people to live in Daytona Beach. I happen to think it's a great city. I chose to live here. Many of you know I recently got married and convinced my wife to leave beautiful South Florida to come to Daytona Beach. As mayor, I think it's important that we have a mayor who believes that, who lives that, and who encourages others to do that. So, yes, I would support that.
Thank you. Edith, same question.
This commission has been very supportive of that. We have moved forward in crafting an ordinance regarding upper management and them living in the city limits of Daytona Beach, and we have taken it upon ourselves, and it is now a matter of not policy, but it is practice. In the police department, new hires, they must live in the city, and they have not had anyone turn that down when they brought it to their new hires. We are working towards that. We believe it's very important. We have offered programs before and incentives, which other cities have done, to encourage police, fire, teachers to live in the city, especially in the urban core areas of a city. And those things we have done, those policies have been successful, and we're reviewing those policies.
Thank you. Gwen, same question.
Should we require our staff to live in the city? And I believe you referred to officials. And when I went on the commission, one of the first things that I introduced was an ordinance to require that all department heads and directors/directors, you know, they use semantics, but they're the same, be required to live in the city. It had been practiced under the former city manager, and it should have been made practice as of then. We passed that and we required it of the department heads. Since then, of course, it has changed somewhat. But I believe that especially those department heads that are making decisions that everyone is required to live according to should also be required to live by the same rules and decisions they make. They should not be allowed to drive in town and drive out of town with blinders on. They should be required to live here, so I do support that. But the other side of the coin is retention. Once you hire them, you have to make sure to some extent and as much as possible that the people not only live here, but that they continue to live in this city.
Thank you. Fred, same question to you.
Okay, well, most people don't know it, and maybe people even on the commission don't know it. There is a current ordinance that 70% of the people that work for the city have to live in the city. It's not being followed. Maybe the city manager doesn't know about it or doesn't follow it. There is already an ordinance. We need to hire people from the city that pay taxes and service fees. They'll do a better job than someone who lives outside the city. Also, taking vehicles home. Okay, it costs us gas, liability, wear and tear. If it's for official duty, you know, a police officer that needs the vehicle for you know, emergency calls, that's fine. But you wouldn't let a fireman take a fire truck home, would you? And also, so we need to hire people from within the city.
Thank you. And Derek, you have a final minute on that question.
It's a proven statistic that when policemen live in the community that they work in, the community has a greater sense of safety and crime is reduced in the area in which the policeman happens to live. 240 or 50 of our city's staff are policemen. So that is the driving crux of it. If you want to have true, authentic community policing, then you need to require your policemen to live in the community that they work in. And finally, the residents have a greater deal of respect for the police when they live there. And the police, as well as the other residents, tend to take a greater, as well as the other staff who are required to live in the city, tend to take a greater sense of pride in the city that they live in. So as for me, as mayor, I want folks who feel about Daytona Beach the way that I feel about it, as a place that is worthy to live in. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final question, this part of the debate goes to you, Edith. And the question is this. Compared to neighboring cities, Daytona Beach has a higher tax rate. How much does that hinder the city's economic prospects? And what do you think can be done about that?
I mentioned that before. Yes, we do have a higher tax rate than Port Orange and Ormond Beach. One of the reasons for that is we have a great deal of people in our community who are underserved. We have a large underserved population. We also have large special events that come into our city, so our police and fire are much larger than our surrounding communities. And we have to cover those expenses somehow. One of the things that I have addressed and looked at is how do we deal with those interlocal agreements? Those interlocal agreements were set up years ago when everybody was pretty equal with their police and fire. But now people have cut back and we're still bearing the costs of providing those first responder services to surrounding communities. We also provide those first responder services to the airport. We are closer than the county facilities, so we are first responders and yet are not receiving anything for that first response. So we need to look at that. It is something that we're working hard on as a community. We're trying to address that, and the most important thing is we're working towards that economic opportunity and job growth in our community. We need to provide that atmosphere that encourages that, so that we can help bring up our ad valorem, our property rates, and bring up more income for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gwen, same question to you.
I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
Sure. Compared to neighboring cities, Daytona Beach has a higher tax rate. How much does that hinder the city's economic prospects? And what do you think can be done about it?
It hinders the city in many ways, and one of the ways I've already stated, and that is that there are businesses that leave the area, not just because of inconsistency and regulations, they feel they're overregulated, but because they feel that this is a high tax area, and because that impacts them in their bottom line. What can we do? We can work with businesses, we can work with economic development individuals, with Team Volusia, with the county economic development staff, with the state, with the Enterprise Florida, with CBE and others, to make sure that we have the training and for our skills, for our unemployed and underemployed. We can make sure as well that we have and draw the right kinds of jobs that we want and need for the area, and make sure too that when we bring these businesses here, that whatever the incentives that are put in place, that we follow through on the promises that we make, because there are businesses that have said that we do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Fred, same question to you.
Talking about the millage rate, we don't have to increase it every year. We have to cut costs. That's what we have to do. Here's one example. The Speedway does not pay their fair share. We have to clean up the town. We have to have traffic control. We have to have fire control. We have to have garbage control, ambulance, fire, ambulance, evac. The Speedway and the France family should pay a $2 to $3 million event fee for big events like the Daytona 500 and the Pepsi 400. Every other single vendor pays a special event fee to sell their products, $250, $300. And the Daytona Speedway should pay their fee, a fair fee, to clean up the town and based on ticket sales. All they do is take money out of Daytona and they don't recirculate it, and they buy other tracks all over the United States. But we need to have them pay their fair share, not just take money out of our city.
Thank you. Derek, same question
Could
to
you
you.
repeat the question? I'm sorry. I
Certainly.
heard it 3 times.
Okay, and if everyone could remain silent. Compared to neighboring cities, Daytona Beach has a higher tax rate. How much does that hinder the city's economic prospects, and what do you think can be done about it?
Well, I would say that it hinders our economic prospects, but it is a marginal hindrance and not a great hindrance. The greater hindrance is that we have not prioritized our spending and have not prioritized where our city's resources will go. We have, in this city, this is a great facility. Mayor McLeod Bethune is a great facility. We've got great facilities, but they're underused. We are going to be an events town, and we have to accept that reality. If we're not an events town, these places will always be empty. So we have to find ways to diversify the economy and draw in more tourists to the city, therefore driving up the amount of revenue that we are able to generate, which will allow us then to decrease the taxes. And we have to support that. No longer can we have special events, tax special events, and I don't just mean bikes and cars. All of the special events, we have to expand those into the automotive industry or etc. You just have to expand it. But thank you.
Thank you. And Edith, you have a final minute on that question.
Back to those higher taxes. Once again, it goes back to really analyzing our budget through a program analysis so that we can make those decisions as a community that tells us where we need to spend our resources. We only get in about 16 to 17% of our budget comes from our property taxes. That's not even half of our budget comes from our property taxes. 31% of our budget is spent on public safety. It shows how important public safety is to the citizens of Daytona Beach. But we need to really look at those issues and determine the best way to spend our limited resources. It is really important that we work to understand that improving the quality of life for the citizens of Daytona Beach is not a luxury item for us. It is true economic development.
Thank you. Okay, we finished this portion of the debate, and now we're going at the point of the debate where candidates have an opportunity to ask questions of their fellow candidates. Earlier when we were speaking, we thought there would be time for 2 questions from each candidate to someone else, but because of the amount of time we've taken, we only have time for 1 question from each candidate. So here's how it will work. Each candidate gets up to 30 seconds to ask 1 question of a fellow candidate. The question is completely up to the candidate asking it, and it is up to the candidate to decide who will receive the question. The candidate who receives the question will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. Then the candidate who asked the original question will have 30 seconds to respond. And we didn't go over order on this one, so I've made a game time decision, and we're going to go man, woman, man, woman. So, Derek, you have the first question.
Fred, you have discussed the problem of the incumbency or the incumbent administration. Why do you feel that the current administration is doing such a poor job, and how would your administration improve what we're doing now as a city?
Well, you weren't there for the full term, but let's look at what happened there in the last 4 years. Let me think. Nothing. That's it. That's my answer. That's it.
Is that your answer?
That's it.
Okay. Maybe we will have time for 2, 3. Derek, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, I expected it, maybe a different answer. But at any rate, I would say that, in my opinion, I think we need a new direction as a city. And I think that the city is tired of us status quo, new administration, status quo, new administration, status quo. It's time to take a different direction. And I will discuss what I believe that direction should be in my closing statement.
Thank you. And Edith, you get the next question.
Well, thank you. Mr. Hoffman, how would you build consensus on the city commission to move the city forward?
Well, I think the problem is there's no real leadership. You need someone with fresh ideas, with business experience. I know Mr. Ritchie is in business, but I really haven't seen much of a change in the city. There's still a lot of issues, bringing business into town, bringing businesses in and creating jobs, and being a leader, get the commission to all be on the same page. Of course, everyone's not going to agree on everything, be eye to eye, but you can have a general consensus of how you want to go forward and improve the city generally. And because if there's no improvement, in 4 more years we're going to be where we are now, So and that's the reason I ran, because I got pissed off, and someone has to do something,
Thank you. Edith, your response.
Well, consensus building is very important. Working on a city commission, working on a board, it's about bringing people and ideas together. As chairman of the Daytona Beach vision process, I reached out to all areas of this community, brought people together. I went to neighborhood groups, I went to churches, I went to the colleges and universities, I went to the high schools in our community, I went to elementary schools in our community. I brought the vision out to the community. The community gathered and built that vision. The vision is not Edith Shelley's vision. It is a consensus vision for the city of Daytona Beach.
Thank you. And the next question is Fred.
Okay, I have a question for Mrs. Shelley. At the last City Commission meeting on July 18th, you voted and approved to increase license and inspection fees for 50% of all property owners in Daytona Beach and to spend $83,000 to hire 2 additional city employees. Your anti-business approval will affect 100% of the landlords and their tenants, who will end up paying $20 more rent each month in a city with no new businesses to hire employees, since you favor your rich friends that are against development, while at the same time you're telling business owners that you are in favor of growth. At the same City Commission meeting, you voted to reduce the annual LPGA golf course lease from $500,000 to...
You've reached your time limit on the question.
Okay, can I just give a punchline? To reduce it, to which group are you telling the truth? The business owners or your affluent preferred friends?
Okay. Edith?
Thank you for that very interesting question. I voted, the community came forward in a broad way asking that we come forward with a rental ordinance for our community. Our community, in the articles done by the News Journal, one of the cities they talked about was Delray Beach. I looked up the ordinances in Delray Beach. How do they have those appearance standards there? What have they done with that community? They have a very strong rental ordinance in the city of Delray Beach that encourages business investment and rental investment in our community. Regarding LPGA, what we did with that was, and something that we are doing with other businesses as well, it's what we've done with Zoom Air, it's what we've done with Joe's Crab Shack. As their business improves, as they make more money, we as a city will make more money.
Thank you. And Fred, your response?
Well, I think if you're going to keep giving money away, you're going to have a problem with taxation. You're going to have to increase the millage rate. You can't do anything about the property appraiser's appraisal of the property. And so if you give $250,000 to the golf course, can it be said that you're basically the opposite of Robin Hood, approving the taking of $83,000 from the poor majority while giving to the rich, one entity, $250,000. You can't continue like that.
Thank you. Gwen, you have the final question.
My question is also to Edith Shelley, and it has to do with the homelessness, which is the #1 issue which the faith group decided this year. And it is a problem that is causing businesses in downtown and around the city to actually lose customers. So my question is, do you support Michael Arth's homeless plan for helping the homeless in the county, and that we have more of them here? Please explain why or why not, or what else would you do?
I believe that Michael Arth has a very interesting concept. I attended a meeting hosted by Stetson University to discuss this issue. I believe Commissioner Henry and Commissioner Asma Edwards have also talked about how this is a community-wide, county-wide issue. It's not just an issue for the city of Daytona Beach. And we have the statistics to show that over 50%, close to 60% of all social services for the county are located in the city of Daytona Beach. So we are bearing our burden. What we talked about at this meeting was the fact that we need to find that county location. In cities like, I know it's a much larger city, but Dallas and other cities throughout the United States, they have come with a one-stop center for homelessness, where they have all the social service agencies located in one area. That is very similar to what Mr. Arth has recommended, and it's something that needs to be explored.
Thank you. And Gwen, your response?
If homelessness is important, and is seen as important by this city, then we should be also making an investment and those dollars available to help the homeless assistance areas. We also need to make sure that we talk to the county and help to convince the county to provide the property that is necessary for the Michael Arth homeless program to start. That program will allow individuals to be trained to receive social services and to be able to get back on their feet for those who want to. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, time flies when you're having fun. We've now reached the point in which each candidate will have 2 minutes to give a closing statement. The closing statements will be given in reverse order of the original questions. So instead of Gwen beginning, Edith will begin. Edith, we do have, just a second. Does this work? Yes. Yes. The heck with that one then. Here, let's try this one. We do have a microphone if you'd like to stand.
Did you say sing? Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Edith Shelley. I'm currently a Daytona Beach City Commissioner. I've been representing you as City Commissioner in Zone 1. I have been an active and integral part of this community for most of my adult life. My husband, Dennis, and I have been married 33 years. I moved here as a newlywed with my husband. We've raised our children here. Our business is here. The business has been here for over 80 years. My husband and I have been involved in the business for 33 years. I have volunteered as a member of the planning board for 18 years, about half of that as chairman. I was the chairman of the Daytona Beach Vision Process. I've received an award from the Florida Planning and Zoning Association, the Surf Coast chapter, when I was working as a volunteer for my commitment to planning and zoning and finding best practices for my community. I've also received an award from the NAACP, the Volusia County Daytona Beach chapter, for my work as a community service person, serving and working in the community. I am dedicated to this community. I am serving this community now. I have been serving it, and as your mayor, I will continue to serve this community. I respectfully ask that you vote for me, Edith Shelley, on August the 14th. Elect me the next mayor of Daytona Beach, and you will not find a more dedicated, passionate public servant. Thank you.
Thank you, Edith. And the next to speak is Derek Henry.
I was born and raised in this community, and I love this community. And what you have to know about me is that for me, it is not about what I know. Because I've told you, if you're a member of this community, that I don't have all the answers. I've knocked on probably 4,000 doors over the last 6 months. And in knocking on those doors, I've asked you what you believe should be the vision for this community. And you've told me. You've told me that you want to see a mayor who is transparent, who is readily available to serve, and who firmly believes in this community. I'm that man. I am that man. We are at a point in this city where we can take one of two roads. We can continue down the road that we have been on, the road of stagnation, the road where we see a county taking our schools, a road that has caused us to lose 5% of our population while the rest of the state had a 3% increase. Or we can choose a road where we elect a mayor and a commission that is committed to solving the current impasse between our firefighters and our city. Where we elect a mayor who is truly committed to solving our city's infrastructure problems, which are enormous. We can elect a mayor who was born not only in this city, but in a generation that puts me uniquely in a situation where I can connect to the younger generation and the older generation and bridge the generational gap that exists in our community. I'm Derek Henry, and I want to be your mayor. Not because I need to be your mayor, but because I love this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Fred, it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you. Went to Robert Morris College in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Have an AA in business management. Been self-employed since I was a paper boy. I'm a motel owner, a landlord, and a real estate broker. I sell commercial properties. I sell hotel motels, get my little ad in here, apartment complexes and mobile home parks in Florida. I lived in Daytona Beach since 1972 and like to see the city to continue to improve, especially its relationship with its residents. I believe the mayor, with the help of the city commissioners, can change people's lives for the better. If you say, well, Fred, you don't have any government experience. Well, America is land of the free and home of the brave. We don't need people with prior government experience to take office. That's why some things never change. Don't be content with conformity. The city needs someone who can bring about solutions and not maintain a good old boy policy. And if you ask me how am I better qualified than other candidates, I'm not better. I'm sure they would do their best. I've never been a clerk, nor a school teacher, or a career politician, or any other kind of employee. I've always been in business for myself since being a paper boy. The city is a business and should be run like any other business that has to make a profit. It's not fair to the residents to overtax them for employee-run government. The city needs a business person to run it like a business, and on that basis, I am the best candidate. Thank you.
Gwen, the microphone's yours.
Thank you. As has been stated, I'm Gwen Asma Edwards. I am a candidate for mayor of the city of Daytona Beach, and I look forward to becoming your next mayor. Why? Because I am the best candidate, the most qualified candidate that is standing before you. I have demonstrated leadership because I've chaired more than 40 organizations at all levels of government, with the city, the county, the state, and national level. I know city government, and I know it because I have been your city clerk and assistant to the city manager for 15 years. Not the current manager, but a manager who is well known and renowned, Howard Tipton. I've also been a city commissioner for 2 years. So I know city government, how to get the job done. And that's so key and important for us, for this city, because we are going backwards. We have lost population over the last 10 years. Businesses are moving out. People who live here, if they could move, they would. People who don't want to live here talk about us and put us down. We do have to clean up the city. We do need to green it up, because green not only is the color of money, but it's also the color of the parks and the greenways and the places that allow individuals to feel good about themselves. And we need to develop community. We need to reestablish pride in ourselves and in our community. And so we need to come together and to work together to make this city the great place that it can be. We all know and we say it has potential, but we need somebody that can bring us together, work with us, and help us to realize that great potential. I am that person because I have demonstrated leadership, because I have integrity, and because I have the experience that it takes to get the job done. And we need to do that. Elect Gwen Asma Edwards as your next mayor of the city of Daytona Beach, and I, with you, will make us proud to be a part of this city. Thank you so much.
Well, that concludes tonight's debate. I want to, before everyone leaves, first thank Daytona State College again for sponsoring this event. I want to thank everyone for attending. And finally, let's give a final hand to the candidates for a really good debate. Thanks, and have a great rest of your evening.